before he said Marty Friedman was there, I was like, man, it's a long way, and I have been there 3 weeks ago. Maybe we can postpone to I don't know, the summer or whatever. And then he was like, well, Marty Friedman is going to be there. I was like, well, okay, so I guess I'm going to come. I'm going to come. And, and it was great because I'm a big fan of Marty Friedman since you say the Megadeth days, and he's one of my favorite guitar players and probably the one that I respect more for his playing in the entire world.
What's up, headbangers? I've got an awesome interview coming. This person, he's basically started his career at the age of 13, picked up a guitar. From there, he's basically learning his music, learning his craft, and he joined a band called Arcadia, which was an Italian band from Italy, which was a modern death metal band. This band lasted for 2 decades. They lived in America. From there, he basically became a solo artist. He worked with musicians like Marty Friedman from Megadeth, the Scopelliti brothers as well. He's also a visionary of a guitar company called Inspiria Guitars. He's basically went to NAMM Guitar Summits. He's basically got a solo album. It's called Revolution of Evolution. We basically had a great chat with him. Basically what motivates him. He's a very humble guy. I hope you guys enjoy this interview. Dimitry, man, welcome to Headbangs Australia. It's great to have you on. How you been, mate?
Good. How are you?
Oh yeah, pretty well. Pretty well. I've got the blue lights on today. Normally we use red, and I thought let's do something different.
I have a blue light as well. I tried also here, but here is daylight now, so it's kind of difficult to get it in a way. There, I guess it's evening, 6 in the afternoon or something.
Yeah, it's just gone dark. Probably about in the next 4 weeks. While in Norway, you'll start to get more colder. We'll start to get more warmer, so we'll have more around 6 o'clock. So so at the moment it's currently dark, and it does have the blue lights do make really well. But
looks great.
Thank you, mate. I'm really keen to talk about your career, because you started when you were 13 years old, when you started picking up your instrument in the guitar, and your journey has taken you to 6 continents, and you've had quite an impressive resume. Looking back, what were the key turning points that directed your path as a guitarist and a composer?
Well, I started playing the guitar, and as everybody do in local bands, at school and stuff like that. But actually, for me, I'm not, even though people think that I'm a guitar nerd or something like that, I'm not really that. It's just that probably the only instrument we had in the house was a guitar. And I always dreamt about being in a band, because I liked a lot like the music environment and all this. I was following bands even before starting playing, So I was like, well, we have a guitar. I'm going to play the guitar, of course. And I still believe that the guitar is the coolest instrument. So it was very easy. And my father is a guitar player, not professional, but he could play some chords and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So, I just went to him and said, can you explain to me how this thing works? And then I will take it from there.
Yeah.
So, and then basically I have been in the local bands at school, as everybody do, looks like the guitar is an instrument that usually you start playing when you are 12, 13. A lot of guitar players, like famous guitar players, started that time. And now I'm also an instructor, and I figured out that it's a very difficult instrument because it's very physical.
Yeah.
And it takes time before you get the sound out of the instrument.
Yeah.
So, I started at that age. And then I started one of my first bands, which I have been together with them for basically 20 years, which is Arcadia,
Yeah.
which is, let's call it a modern death metal band from Italy. And we have been all over the place. We got the first record contract back in 2000, and we have been on tour in many, many places. We lived in the US for a while, we opened for a lot of big bands, including opening for Iron Maiden in 2013 in Milano, so, and I, now I'm more like a solo artist, and one of the reasons is that I used a lot of time with the band, and it was not just like a hobby band or whatever. It was a real professional band because we were all living together. It was like being in a family, basically,
Mm-hmm.
So the thing is, I believe that if you are committed in a band, it's like a marriage.
Yeah.
So. And after 20 years, things go up and down, and I decided to start my own solo career just in order to, I felt that I had something more to give in a way.
Yeah.
When you are in a band, you always need to, keep the how can we call it, like the trademark of the band, that kind of music, try to be creative but not change completely and all this, and I felt it was a bit a pity that I couldn't express 100% all my potential there.
Yeah. With the adjustment of being from a death metal band to what you've done now as a solo, those who haven't heard your music before, it's the solos are very different, opposite direction to the death metal. Modern death that you were doing for 20 years with Arcadia. How do you found the transition from a band? Because in the band, it's basically, like you said, like a familia, like a family, and it's up and down. Sometimes you get your highs and your lows, and there's always great rewards at the end, like the 2013 Iron Maiden opening that this guy's done, and then but because it's a group, it's a very team collective in a band environment. So how did you find the transition from being in a band, working with 3 or 4 members of the band, and then doing it on your own? Did you feel more freedom? Did you feel more creativity, or do you still feel I do miss the band dynamics looking back?
Of course, there are pros and cons. Being in a band, you give your input to the band, and you get the feedback, and you help each other, and and all this. And being solo, I would say that, I'm solo for so many years now. I mean, I still play in bands here and there, but more like a collaboration kind of thing. So composing wise, it didn't really change, but the thing is that I always have, of course, my last word on the material, which is good and bad at the same time, because sometimes I actually send my demos out to friends and people from my ex-band and all this in order to get some feedback, because if you get too much into that, it's very difficult to be, to step back and try to listen to the music like a listener in a way. So at the same time, of course, I mean, the music, as you mentioned, is completely different. So I had the opportunity to express myself in a more complete way. Sometimes I listen, to my old material as a solo composer and all this. I still hear that there is an influence of death metal, but it's very, very hidden by all the rest in a way. So, but I still feel that my background is the metal from the the 90s, the 80s, and the 90s. So, but it's with a completely different aesthetic. I'm an artist who likes to look forward and try to experiment and always push the envelope in a way. And being solo and doing this kind of music, which is not mainstream at all, gives me the freedom to experiment without second guessing myself, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that we'll probably go more into the solo work with your current album, which is coming real soon. But just to understand a bit of your musical background, back when you were 13, when you joined the band, what was your musical influence? Like, as you said, you like to play a lot of instruments. You don't really call yourself a guitarist. You're more like, I'm a musician. So you would have had a lot of influence. So, what did you have any metal influence or non-metal influence, just to give more of the understanding of your musical background journey?
Yeah, I always been open to a lot of different music, and in a way, I have been lucky to have a lot of music at home, even when I was a kid. So, I discovered many years after that I have some blues influences, just because my parents, they were listening to blues in the house, and it's those, when you are a small kid listening, you're actually recording everything, in your DNA. So, and all this comes out later on.
Yeah.
So I always like to listen all different music. And nowadays, now that I'm 45, I realize that all the music is the same. All the rules of music, so-called rules, and breaking the rules, is they are they are the same. So the sounds are different and all this, and the way that you, how can we say, that you play them is different. But there is, the music is the same. It's just like, let's say, classical music. What is the difference between classical music and heavy metal? It's just the instruments that they use.
Yes.
But you can see a lot of similarities. Even though they are far away timeline talking.
Yeah.
So of course, growing up, I didn't really know that, but I was listening to all different kinds of stuff. I started from rock, let's say Queen, pop, Michael Jackson when I was a kid, and all these, the pop from the 80s was actually very high quality. It has nothing to do with the pop that the kids listen nowadays. Okay, let's not even get into the AI music and all this. But so there was a lot of blues, a lot of funky, a lot of jazz, and the production in the 80s was, for the time, was very advanced, still keeping the human factor, in first line. And but then, of course, when you start playing the guitar, things change because of the instrument, I guess. Yeah. So, you have the distortion, you have like 7-string guitars and all this. So you start moving in that direction. I believe there are two directions. One is more like jazz, when you start playing the guitar, and the other one is more to metal, And in my case, those two things, at the end of the day, they just united, they joined, because I suddenly felt that I wanted to know more about music. So I went to the music college, so I learned music, how to write music, improvising, and a lot of different kinds of music that I actually wanted to learn, but they were in a way far away from my environment.
Yeah.
But I always had, since a kid, this idea of doing more like progressive rock, progressive metal, because I see that you can actually express yourself in a different way, just breaking the rules of the market, and how normal people conceive music and all this.
Yeah,
if that makes sense.
Yeah. I actually grew up listening to 80s pop as well, because as you said, it was probably the great production in music. Like, it's not what it is today. And basically, what else was going to say? But then I got into more metal in the 90s because of the grunge era, the grunge era. And that made it more like, that's when I found the distortion guitars, and I started to learn how to play guitar around 15. So then I got more towards the metal side, more of the thrash and then the new metal. And I also, when I picked up the bass a couple of years later, when I started to get myself back and learn the instrument, I found the jazz music was very educational because it gave you freedom of expression. There's rules. If you're on like a G major,
Yes.
you go there and there. You've got to know your scales. So it's a full on when you go into that jazz journey. And then when you apply that with your metal music craftsmanship, what I've learned is that being a bassist, there's a riff you can explore anywhere as long as it's in the same rules, because all it's music rules. There's a musical language and stuff. And speaking of the language of music, you've got your new album coming, which is the Revolution or Evolution. I've heard it earlier today, and I really, really loved it, man. It was,
Thank you.
You hear all these different elements of guitars. So many, probably, people that love their technical skills, that when I listen to music, it's there. My question is how did you, this is not your first album, you've done many solo albums, so how did you approach this recording and with the project? Did you feel like you wanted to do something different to your last albums? Did you feel like you wanted to express yourself a bit more?
Well, actually, my purpose was not to do something different compared to what I've done before.
Yeah.
But I knew that it was going to be different because I felt that every time I don't make albums so often, so it takes doing everything by myself. It takes at least 2-3 years between writing, recording, producing, and all this. So I knew that it was going to sound different, but the title is The Revolution or Evolution. My first solo album, it was an EP in 2008, and it was called Evolution.
Yeah.
And this is called The Revolution or Evolution because it's, in a way, it closes a cycle, because basically I feel that I started this kind of music in, let's say 2007, 2008 or something, probably 2006. And it evolved in a way that if you listen to the first album and this one, they are completely different, but the aim was always the same. But it took time to develop up to this point, So I'm not the kind of artist who says, well, I will do this when I will be ready to do that, because it will never be ready. So I'm my philosophy is do this, get it out, move forward. And if you listen to every single album from 2008 to now, of course there is something in common, but they all sound different in a way. So basically it was not decided that it was going to be something different, but of course it came out different comparing to the other albums, even though the process was basically the same. And of course the Revolution or Evolution, the title might be applying also to the social environment and all the unnecessary AI that we use daily, and where we are moving, as a society in a way. So that's why I thought it was the right title. I had different ideas in mind, but it was the one that was fitting more because of personal reasons and general reasons.
Because when I just go a bit, because I, as I said, I really enjoyed listening to the album, and for people that are going to listen to it after watching the video, basically, I can see there's a lot of influence with the way I interpret it. Probably different how you approached it, but when I listen to it, it reminds me of listening to the early Joe Satriani albums when he was doing solo. But you also hear influence like Steve Fowler in it. Then I feel like there's Joe Peristri, which is he's possibly one of my favorite guitarists. So there's a lot of Dream Theater elements when I'm listening to it. A bit of Pink Floyd. There's a bit of Pink Floyd influence as well. Even that it's metal, and people are wondering, well, does it chuck? I go, yeah. There's every song chucks. You hit, there's, as Ol England will say, chucks. There's chucks in it. But it's a lot of creativity, and it makes the very enjoyable listening experience. And I really enjoyed it. And I guess my follow up question is: would you say that's probably an accurate excuse me? Would you say that's an accurate reflection of the album's sound?
Yeah, I think so. All the people that you mentioned basically are my influences, and yeah, well, I mean the Pink Floyd thing, it's there definitely. I mean, I feel, and it's something in a way, I give credit to myself. I really like when in a song you're able to show all your influences from, as you said, Pink Floyd
Yeah.
to extreme metal. Like maybe there is a blast beat, heavy metal rhythm, or maybe it's some kind of mathematic riff with blast beat over that, and it's not really that. For me, it's a very natural process. I never really planned to do this. I just sit down here in my studio, and just things start to happening, and that's because of I listen to a lot of music, a lot of different music. I travel by car pretty often for work. I do teaching in different institutes here in Norway, teaching music, guitar, bass, and drums. And I listen to a lot of different music. The same, I can listen to a jazz track and then like a black metal track, whatever. As I said before, and all this just manifest in the writing process.
Yeah.
So yeah, all the artists that you mentioned are part of the picture.
Yeah, because I could add more if I wanted to, because I it those that like prog, there's elements of Rush, so I feel like I can hear that. When you go death metal, for me it's more like Opeth, like the early Opeth days, and probably more in the early 2000 Opeth. So I feel like there's a lot of things in there, and we've got the links in the video description to this new album. You guys, as do yourself a favor. You really got to hear this album. But also, you're not just a musician; you're a businessman as well. You've the owner of a guitar company that you founded called Inspiria Guitars, man. And you've been you've gone into the big shows like the NAMM, the Guitar Summit, and I think there's one in China. I forgot the name of.
Music China.
Visit China. We don't have anything like that in Australia, which I would like to go, but
you don't have any shows like that, exhibition?
Oh, not as prestigious as a NAMM or things like that. I think they used to have one, but they don't really put it there. Like I've never heard of any shows. Like I would love to see, like that in Australia. Like you see your Solar, NAMM. I mean, Black Star. Dark Glass, because I'm personally like a Dark Glass fan, so I love to see all these conventions in Australia. I think there has been one, but it's not really often. I think it's just too expensive for them to run it, and plus, like you look at NAMM, it's in America, and then you've got all the other ones like in Europe. Like everyone that lives in the US, Canada, and Europe, they're closer together. So Australia's probably more further. So for them to get like a wild card or someone to go, let's get someone overseas, it's gonna be like, it's expensive for them. So I feel like as a promoter point of view, it's probably not as much as they can do it yearly, because if they do someone, they'll probably get Australia acts. But I feel like it's important to do it, because I think that that's a good way for people that are small businesses like yourself, that they can go to other countries and show their products, and then meet distributors to go, okay, cool, I can send you my guitar to that, you can distribute that off the shipment, because probably this is probably a bit off topic, but I wanted to get a Solar bass, like from Solar Guitars a couple of years ago, and it wasn't it was hard to find a retailer that sells it, and then I found one that was distributor, and he had to get it off shipments off China. So from my consumer point of view, myself, I like to go to a music shop, or to test out the instrument and test out the guitar or the bass.
Of course.
But to get stuff like someone like as an example, Solar Guitars, but as an example with my experience, if the distributor didn't have any display models, you have to take a guess and a punt to order it online, and then which is a cheaper in one way because it's cheaper, but then you get the custom tax and you add that on top, and then
Yeah.
you get it.
It's always very complicated. Believe me. It's very complicated. But I probably there is a show in the US, which is NAMM, and then there is one in Europe, which is the Guitar Summit in Germany, and then there is Music China. Like this is distributed in the main parts of the world, and everybody from every single part of the world they approach one of those shows. But we have also smaller shows, but they really don't matter in the big picture, But yes, of course, I agree with you. I sell guitars, so I basically design and distribute guitars. All the guitars they have my own design, and this thing started in 2022 officially, but basically way before, maybe 2018. I always thought about doing that. I was just waiting for the right moment to strike, and. What happened is that I worked with a lot of different companies during the years. I have been first a PV artist, and then I worked with Randall amps. With PV I was working both for guitars and amplifiers. PV has always been my favorite amp because I played with 5150 for many years, and still nowadays always 5150 is the best. I consider that as a part of my sound. There is always at least one or two 5150 tracks in my recording, in my album, in every song. I have different layers and stuff. And so basically, in COVID struck in 2019, 2020, basically, and I had a lot more extra time to figure things out, and I made a lot of designs. And basically, when we slowly went back to normal, I decided to open my own thing. In part because I lost a lot of contacts because of COVID. Some manufacturers they just shut down the business, and I was like, well, I guess now it's time to move to the next stage. And I blindly throw myself in the fire in a way. So, and now basically it's 3 years since I'm doing this, and things are getting better and better. I got very good feedback from the business in general, and we have a department in China, and things are very good. We have a lot of artists, and the name is getting bigger and bigger. And I honestly consider that as part of my musical journey. It's a different way to be creative. At the same time, it's the same like producing music in the studio. Every time I make an album, everything starts from music in my case. So I write music and I perform music. And doing that, I have different skills, which goes from producing in the studio to using my own instruments. And I decided to make them available to the public, and a lot of people appreciate that because there is, I think, a huge difference between a big company making instruments and somebody who played music for 30 plus years making instruments, And even though my instruments, of course, they are supposed to follow my career as a musician, which goes widely from one kind of music to another one, by the way. I found out that a lot of guitar players and bass players, because I do bass as well, they feel that the instruments are pretty versatile to play other kinds of music. I had jazz musicians who really liked the LP6, which is our 6-string guitar, kind of Les Paul shaped. So things are good and it's very exciting, and I mix this career together with music because I make the guitars and I go performing the guitars and I perform the music. And things just unite in just one thing. Which we can call it work. Quote work quote.
I know what you mean.
Yeah.
My work But
Yeah, you know what I mean. I
like
sometimes I show up. I show up in late at meetings with. I don't know. Might be like I play soccer and stuff like that. I might be a little bit late. I'm sorry. I was at work because they have been at work. So and I feel like even though it is a lot of work to do what I do, but if you do that with this excitement and with this passion, it doesn't, and even though it's a lot of hours every day, it doesn't really make you tired, if you know what I mean. Like you're always you feel always motivated to keep going.
That's the best thing. Like when I started this, it was meant to be a YouTube channel. Then from there I started to get like labels, and they wanted more coverage of bands, and then all of a sudden now I'm getting like too much content. I'm gonna start building a website. So it's a lot. It's just funny how it doesn't matter what kind of way you do business. Like when you have a musical background, like myself as well, you can apply it to different stuff. Like running your own guitar brand or doing PR, because it's basically, we're musicians, so we know what it's like either from the instrument or doing the business side. We kind of like know what our experiences are, so we normally apply that. To probably one of the best things about being musicians, in my opinion. You once you know your music, you can apply it to other stuff in life, and
Absolutely.
and it's just and there's it's just rewarding at the end when you see it just grow and grow. I'm dying to ask you this question because I saw your Instagram page when I started to look at your guitars and your NAMM shows, and you had a big YouTuber called Glenn Flicker from Sound Studios. I'm not sure if you follow him. He's very good with the guitars. I remember once he was really critical of the Gibson Stapler Stain guitar. So I really want to know what he really thought of your guitar, because I saw him playing guitar. What was what did Glenn think about your guitars?
Well, when I met him at the NAMM show this year, in 2020, no, 2025, and he just stopped at the booth, mainly because there was a friend of his at our booth, which was working in our stuff. When you go to those kind of conventions, you just run into people that usually you just see on TV or YouTube or whatever, So, and he tried out the guitars, and he liked the guitars. So, but I really didn't get too much into that because he was talking private business with our the guy from our staff. So I didn't really get detailed feedback on the instruments. But he stayed there for quite a while playing the guitars, probably half an hour or something.
Oh, that's
so good. Yeah, so I guess he liked the instruments, and but the thing is that at those conventions there are so many people that sometimes it's very difficult to just focus on one thing. So I'm there, overseeing everything, and there are customers coming and all this. So, but I'm pretty sure I'm gonna meet him again. So like it happened with a lot of people. I met a lot of people there, and then I started a relationship with, working relationship and all this.
Yeah.
So I met a lot of idols from when I was a kid, like Devin Townsend several times. The guys from Fear Factory, and so that's why it's one of the best place to be. I believe the best week of the year is at the NAMM show, because crazy things always happen, crazy good things.
If I win the lotto, I will go to NAMM, and I'll definitely go see your booth, because everyone that's been to the NAMM show, they say so much great things. Like I know a musician that is in a band, and he was endorsed by one of the bass companies, and he went to NAMM and met his idols, metal, jazz musicians. The NAMM, it's like for me, it's like the holy grail of music. You know, if anything that it's like Disneyland, that's like music. You know. It's
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It is. And by the way, Disneyland is on the other road. I mean, you just cross the road and you are in Disneyland.
oh yeah, was it? Oh, okay, that's how close it is.
So basically, if you go out from NAMM,
Yeah.
the next entrance is Disneyland. You know?
Oh,
So it's on the same road. So
well, there
just
you go.
saying. So if it happens that you go, I have been to Disneyland as well, just to figure it out how it was. I have never been there when I was a kid. So
Yeah, because it's in Anaheim. That's where it's located.
yeah, Anaheim. Yeah, it's there. So everything is pretty close, and Disneyland is huge, and NAMM is huge. So basically, there is NAMM and Disneyland. You know.
Well, look, I wouldn't be surprised if Disney owns it one day, because Disney likes to take over things now. So you never know.
It might be that this the same owner already. You know? I don't know.
I don't know.
But
man, but moving on, because you're not just a business owner, a musician. You're actually a session musician, and you have played with a lot of famous guitarists like Marty Friedman from Megadeth. Now he lives in Japan these days, I believe. And
yeah.
You the Bissonotti brothers. You have played with so many great musicians in your career. What was it like working with them? Did you learn anything from them? That you learned some lessons, and basically just the experience.
Yeah. Well, we can go a little bit backwards. Let's start from the latest time was the last time I was on tour in China.
Yeah.
I had the huge honor to open Marty Friedman clinics.
Yeah.
It was a clinic tour. And Marty Friedman, it's very funny because I have been to China like 1 month before, and going to China from here is a long trip, and I like traveling, but sometimes it might be heavy, especially after you're 40 years old, and I'm 45 now. So I was told by the guys from Hot On, which is a company which endorses me. And is basically now building some of the Inspiria guitars as well. Well, you should come to China again next month, which basically was 3 weeks from the latest time, not even like 1 month, because we have a big show, and we're gonna do some touring in stores, and clubs. And Marty Friedman is going to be there as well, and we have the chance to show Inspiria guitars to the Chinese journalists, in the music business and the media and all this. Before he said Marty Friedman was there, I was like, man, it's a long way, and I have been there 3 weeks ago. Maybe we can postpone to, I don't know, the summer or whatever. And then he was like, well, Marty Friedman is going to be there. I was like, okay, so I guess I'm gonna come. I'm gonna come, and it was great because I'm a big fan of Marty Friedman since you say the Megadeth days, and he's one of my favorite guitar players, and probably the one that I respect more for his playing in the entire world and the entire rock music environment, especially. And it was I had the pleasure to go to dinner with him, to talk to him a lot about a lot of different things, and I had the chance for the first time to see him performing in front of me, perform with him, and getting very, very inspired, man. Even though I already knew some stuff, about his playing. But seeing him like 1 meter from you, exactly like he's doing things, it's very inspiring from all points of view, but especially the technical side on the instrument, and nevertheless the feeling of the instrument, because he looks like he's just one thing with the guitar, which is very rare to see. I consider him at the same level like Eddie Van Halen, even though some people might be shocked what I'm saying, but what I mean is that when I saw Eddie Van Halen performing, the guitar was an extension of the body, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
And Marty Friedman is the same. And all the other guitar players, great guitar players that I have seen in my life, they all kind of struggle in a way or another at some point. But looks like for him it's a most natural thing to do, you know, almost like for somebody else to walk, you know.
Yeah.
And he was very humble, you know. It was great to hang out with him, you know.
Yeah.
And that was the last thing that we did with Marty Friedman. Then, you know, probably in the biography stands with the Bissonette brothers. I have been in the studio with them in the summer of 2023 because I was both on tour in the US. And, you know, I have been hired to record an album for a Norwegian artist, which is called Ingrid. And there were great musicians there. And I was lucky enough to be called both by this vocalist and hired by the producer, which is a Grammy Awards producer, you know.
Yeah.
And Jeff Weber, that's his name.
Yeah.
And wow, in the beginning I was kind of overwhelmed, you know, because I'm a modest guy, you know, coming from Italy and small town, and you know. But I probably they have seen something in my style that they needed, you know. And it was a great experience, you know. It was the recording happened in Hollywood and at the East West recording studio. Already the studio was incredible. It was like a huge recording studio with 4 different huge studios.
Yeah.
So already just walking inside there, I didn't know where I had to go, you know. But and then I walked into the room with all those guys there, and the level of talent there was unbelievable, you know. So I was like, I better get my shit together today because, and the recording was live. We did a live recording.
Wow.
Yeah. So no pressure, you know what I mean? Going from here, where, you know, the way that I write music is always the conventional one, but the way that I record music is more like those days making electronic music in a way, you know, just the section by section, you know, just that it sounds organic, but the way that we do it is very like mechanical in a way, recording riff by riff, you know, and moving forward this way to the old school way where you all meet in one room and play at the same time. And you can't make mistakes, because if you make a mistake, you screw it up for everybody. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So and those people that you really feel the way, the experience they have when they just play one stroke on the snare or whatever, you know. So, but it went good, and I was of course nervous. I think it should be this way to take it seriously enough. And the album came out last year, I think. You know, probably there would be another in the future.
Yeah.
So the kind of music was completely different. It was more like we say pop, but with pop, if you say pop nowadays, has a bad connotation. Pop, I mean, with jazz elements, funky, blues, R&B, and all this. You know, and plus, you know, they hired me because I have this rock metal factor, and they needed some solos, you know, with distortion and all that. And of course, they knew me. They know that this is the thing that I do mostly, and you know, that's the reason. And also, you know, there are a lot of different factors. You know, when you work with people, it's very important the way that you feel around those people. You know, like of course, you need to be a nice guy. I mean, you are a nice guy or not. You know, you cannot just wear that hat. And I believe that's the first thing that producers and other musicians, they look into musicians in general to have around them, especially on tour, but also in the studio, you know, to have like a really good, nice, relaxing environment.
Yeah. Mate, what an experience, man. I'm speechless to seeing your journey, man. Like,
Thanks.
Like it's a really, as I said earlier in the interview, it's a great resume. We're about to wrap it up. what advice would you give? You know, 'cause I think you said you do teach students as well. And what advice do you give them or people that come up to you and say, you know, I would love to be in your shoes, I love to go your journey? You know, what do you say when they, you know, ask you for your advice? You know, you know, because you are from, you know, I don't know you that well, but I can tell you're a very humble character. You're very humble.
Thank you.
Um,
Thank you. It's you.
and I can tell when you probably get these questions a lot when people when they see your career. So you know how do you basically give them the right advice? Because you know you are I sense you're kind of an honest person as well. So you know you are humble, but you probably where you up to now or where you got to now. You take there's a lot of hard work involved. So yeah, what do you say to your students and people that ask you those kind of questions?
Oh, well, first of all, you really need to figure out what your goal is, because a lot of people, they have the misconception that of course, I'm very satisfied by my life. I love it. That's the way I want to keep it, you know, and move forward always with the same spirit. But as you say, it takes a huge amount of work and motivation to keep doing this. So, and I talk to people regularly because they always say like, "Oh, wow, lucky you do what you love," you know. But some of those people, they don't really understand what it takes, because I'm pretty sure that a lot of people wouldn't like to be in my shoes. Absolutely not, because it's very complicated way of living, you know. So if you like living stress free, and then it depends from person to person, of course.
Yeah.
You don't do this. I mean, if I had to go back to my previous me, and you know, I never went for the money. I always went for the passion, and that was why I'm doing this.
Yeah.
If I was after the money, I should have done something completely different from the beginning, because there have been no money for many, many, many years.
Yeah.
You know, so it depends. It comes down to who you are. You know, I felt that this was the only thing that I was going to do. There was no other way. So I just threw myself in the fire with the high possibility to just get completely burned. If you know what I mean. And I can see when I talk to young people, I can see already the way that those kids, they talk to me, if they have what it takes or not. But of course, they need to figure it out themselves.
Yeah.
You know, so I believe that when you are young, in the beginning, you just need to think about like what is that makes you feel good. If you like this, if you like to commit to this, just keep going, and then you're gonna figure out the rest afterwards. But if you don't really know what to do in life, you think like, maybe I should do this. That doesn't really work like this. You know?
Yeah.
You should already know 100% that this is what you're gonna do. And this is a modest advice I can give, because I know that you know, this life is very, very difficult. So you can get miserable pretty soon, you know, if you don't know what you're doing. And about instead music, I give a lot of different advices regarding what I have seen in the last 30 years, all the mistakes that I made, which has been a lot. And now that I'm 45, I feel that I should have listened to myself more than I listened to somebody else. And what I mean with that is that this is an artistic environment. So you need to, your inner voice has to come out, you know. And you don't need to learn the guitar like other people play the guitar or your instrument, whatever instrument. You need to find out the way that it works for you. You need to find out what are your music identity is, you know, and get it out. You don't need to conform to any you know, mainstream music. You don't need to do things the way that you are told, you know. And sometimes when you go to schools, it's very tricky, because they teach you the rules of music, but I teach you the scales, I teach you the chords, the arpeggio, and all this, the way that they work together, and then you figure it out the way it works for you. Then you need to break the rules in order to make your own thing,
Yeah.
And of course, when I was at school, it was many, many years ago. So in the last 20 years, a lot of things changed.
Yeah.
A lot of teachers, they figured out that it's very important to have your own identity. And in a way or another, I don't feel that I'm the most skilled guitar player, but I have my own style, and you can see that in the music I make, in the production, in the guitars I do that are completely different from other guitars in the market, and that's because my identity always been very, very strong. In the end, just came out. So I hope this is a good answer. Pretty long, but
Look, man, it's that's your experience, that's your answer, man. So
yeah.
man, I'm like really, really proud to see someone humble.
Thank you.
I think that one of the best advice I ever got given in my life: you never stop learning. The day you stop learning is the day you die. So you always learn and learn and learn,
Absolutely.
and that's basically your advice is pretty much life itself. It's basically the music advice is probably the best one I ever heard. This is the base. This is your scales, your chords, your arpeggios. Now learn, figure that out yourself.
Yeah.
It's hard.
Oh well, that's the same way that I did that. So
yeah.
So true or not true, or important or not important, this is the experience of 32 years, almost 3 years of music. So take it for what it is.
Oh, that's it, man. That's it. People ask for my advice when I do media and stuff. I'm like, I learn stuff myself. I learn if someone doesn't like it, okay, cool. Then someone likes it, okay, cool. Make it grow. It's about media.
Yeah.
It's very, very different. But I don't know, mate. I could talk to you for hours, mate. But it's such an honor to have you on Headbangers Australia. Everyone that just watching this video, man, you definitely go listen to his new album, The Revolution of Evolution. It's a fantastic record, and keep us in contact.
Thank you, man.
Keep us in contact, mate. We'll love to support you in your journey, man. Because you've got up to this far. You've still got more coming in, man. And we're very proud to have you on, man. And all the best of luck, man.
Thank you very much, and thank you very much for having me here. It was a great honor, and it was a great way to start my day, because here is just the morning, and so that's how I started my day, with a smile. And let's keep in touch, and hopefully one day I'm coming touring Australia. That would be great, because I never, believe it or not, never been to Australia. And you're Italian yourself. I have a family there, so it would be a great way to connect. And to the listeners, just check out my album and get in touch with me, and let's see where it goes from there,
Yeah, and hopefully one day we get to play the Inspiria Guitars.
That would be great. That would be great. So if if you come to NAMM, or you come to Europe and you want to go to the Guitar Summit, or come to our place here, you are more than welcome.
Oh, thanks.
You're gonna be our guest.
Thanks, bro. All right, mate. Take care.
You too. Cheers.